Hi, my name's Heidi Howard, and I'm here today to tell you about my show at Nancy Margolis Gallery, Woven Traits. I've been painting portraits for the past 10 years, and I'm working on creating different pairings of figure and ground. I have this really vivid memory of deciding to become a painter. When I was 17, I had been reading Edith Wharton's novel, The House of Mirth, on my subway ride back from high school. And the novel has these really ornate floral descriptions of the novel's heroine, Lily Bart. At the end of the novel, she kills herself because she was seen in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she can't recover her place in society. I was really struck by how accurately the novel captures this idea of the way society can put women in a cage because of their physical appearance. So I've worked for many years to make paintings that depict the figure in an unconventional way. I'm always looking for different ways to create a space that's a space we haven't seen before. Traditionally, a figure is depicted in a landscape or a room, and that space is created by the light that happens on the figure, and I'm more interested in what would happen if the painting shows a figure with a different set of elements that are based on the sitter's more personal narrative. All these paintings started when I sent out an email inviting sitters to come to my studio with a piece of fabric that they would like to be painted on. I had always painted artists for a long time, but I wanted to see what would happen if I let them have direct agency in deciding what I would paint on. I loved this idea of opening my studio practice to my sitters, or giving my sitters more agency by letting them actually put something in the painting. Over here is an example of a smaller painting of my friends Patrice Renee Washington and Oliver Lee Terry. All of the gouache fabric paintings I made with the sitters in the studio. I think it's really important that I make the paintings in the moment with the sitters because their presence is reflected in the energy of my painting, and it's a different type of energy than I can find through any other means. With the fabric project, I had to respond to each piece of cloth I got because the cloth would react differently when you applied the paint, and you just had to improvise because the person would be there and I had to find a way to make it work. But then looking at the way the paint cut into the fabric or marked the fabric gave me a new idea about what my entire painting practice could look like. I was working for this artist, Mira Dancy, who is one of my big heroes, and she paints on really heavily gessoed surfaces, which I hadn't painted on since I was an undergraduate, but I was making those surfaces for her, and then I became really attracted to the smoothness of the surface. And I had also just been using more and more transparency in my work, and I think that surface is a great vehicle for when you have really transparent paint. So I decided to try taking one of the small gouaches and repainting it on a gessoed canvas. So for me, paintings often evoke different sounds and feelings, and I try to be really responsive to that in my studio, so I'm always specific about what I'm hearing in my studio when I'm making the paintings. And when I made this painting of Ivan, I listened to the audio of the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the Epic of Gilgamesh is a story that Ivan has used a lot in his work. It's really amazing. It's a story that was written, thousands of years ago, and it was written way before the camera was invented. So right now when you read novels, they're often very cinematic. And this novel is really about this guy, Gilgamesh, and it describes the way he traverses space, and it's very much according to his body, not according to set images you would see. And to me, that related a lot to Ivan's work because he works with digital spaces and amazing patterns, and kind of that way that you can just invent things in a digital space, I think also has a lot to do with the way that Gilgamesh traveled through space in the epic. So I was hearing that story, and then I saw all these patterns relating to the patterns of the things that Ivan wore. I love looking at painting because it's a record of the passage of time and how the artist chooses to make a mark on a canvas. So this is like my weirdo painting in the exhibit. It's one of the last paintings I made. And it's of the artists Patricia Tribe and Eliza Niesenbaum. And it was a great feeling to paint both of those artists because they're both amazing artists and huge role models for me. On the train ride to paint this painting, I was reading this book that Patricia gave me for my birthday about Marie Laurencin. Her paintings have these like wild, bendy figures, and all their proportions are crazy. And the paintings are very pink, and they have rainbows and unicorns, and they have this extremely feminine sensibility. So I really got into how tender Patricia and Eliza's like gestures towards each other were, and then they both have an extreme sensitivity to fabric and the things that they wear. So I tried to just like let those fabrics live in the paintings. So I'm really interested in creating moments in paintings that take risks as well as making good paintings, because I think those moments that are really strange, that make us doubt ourselves and wonder, are also those moments that open up new aesthetic ideas and new ideas that anyone kind of coming into the show, no matter what background they come from, could get an idea about an aesthetic sense that I love.